Hey guys, what's up? It's Imurgency and welcome back to my channel. Today we'll be talking about a show that we've talked about before on this channel for its season 1, and y'all really seem to like it and I really enjoyed watching it. And this show just happened to come out with a season 2 like a week or two ago, and there's just no way that it's going to release and I'm not going to talk about it. So today we're going to be talking about our show, Blood and Water. Whoever sang the intro to that song really did eat down, because the way every single time that would play at the beginning of every episode, I would be hyped. But yeah, let's talk about Blood and Water season 2, because there are a lot of things that happened this season, so much to unpack, and so many characters that we need to judge, because I really hate to say it, I didn't think it was possible, but this season is definitely a whole lot messier than the first season. I thought that was hard to do because first season was already pretty messy. Everyone just really forgot how to act this season, and we need to talk about it. But before we do that, if you're new to the channel, then hit that subscribe button and turn on post notifications if you're new, because that helps me out a bunch. And also leave a like on this video, because why not? And also, since I'm plugging, follow me on my social medias here at Imurgency. I do post from time to time on other social medias, and you should go and see it. But yeah, let's get into Blood and Water. I think we actually pick up this season at the end of the first season. Like, they go off on summer break and then they come back, and then here we are, season 2. Puleng has already told Fakile that they're sisters, and Fakile doesn't really know what to do. Of course, she doesn't want to believe Puleng because, you know, that would like change up her whole worldview, but at the same time, she also had some suspicions that like maybe she isn't who people say she is. So we start off the season, they have like this whole dramatic scene between like Puleng and Fakile where they're like staring at each other, announcing that like, oh, I got a restraining order against you. And I'm like, Fakile, I understand that this information might be hard to hear. I really do, I get it. But why try so hard to refute it when you don't have the full scope of the evidence yet? Like, I know that your parents probably had a strong tie to this restraining order, but like you could have fought back a little bit. Or even like when you got called out for it, like why did you have to make it a whole scene, like standing by, like, oh, this is why I got a restraining order? When the parents were like, see, this is exactly why we did what we did. And she was just there like, exactly. Like, come on now. I feel like Fakile made the situation a lot more difficult than it needed to be. She could have like played it a little bit more low-key, do her own investigation like Puleng did. It kind of blew up into like this bigger thing, which is interesting to say the least. Fakile was also really vindictive this season towards Puleng, and just in general, the energy really didn't need to be there. Like, I get it, Puleng really is a lot, especially this season. She's a lot, but still, like, if you think that's your sister and she's like trying to like prove that, like, she gave her a little bit of space. Like, Puleng gave Fakile a little bit of space, but like there wasn't a need to be as vindictive, as like snaky, or just as like harsh to Puleng, because really she's just trying to like do what's best for her family and also what's best for her. Like, if y'all are actually sisters, which, spoiler alert, they are, then maybe be a little nicer, or like try and help the process along. And since we brought her up in season 1, you know that I had my own opinions about Puleng, and specifically how she deals with being sneaky and handling this top secret information. They really just like took that up a notch and making Puleng a full spy. Like, why did she manipulate her boyfriend into getting her an internship position at this one company that her boyfriend's dad owned, so that she can do like some undercover stuff at that internship to dig up secret files to find information that she needed? When did a high schooler become like a top secret covert agent, you know? That was like the main thing for me. How do we go from the girl that can barely hide and sneak for anything and get caught literally at every single stop? I mean, she did do that this season too. She did almost every time get caught, every time she tried to be sneaky. But why did they like up the stakes and make her some kind of secret agent? Like, why was she breaking into places? Why was she going to secret locations? Why was she going like across town for like different things to find different things? Like, I just don't know. Puleng, the super spy. The one good thing about like sneaking around that she did do right, which I have been suggesting since day one, is that she finally got someone else to do some of the sneaking for her. Because like I said, she can't sneak for shit. She always gets caught. But this time she got her bestie Zama to help out, and she got Wade to help out too. There's some improvement there, because really, girl, you don't need to be doing this all by yourself. I feel like overall this season did give a lot of characters more character development. I know I mentioned in the last review that a lot of characters seem to fall by the wayside, especially like the non-black characters, and they really fleshed them out this season. In fact, I'd say that they made them like more prominent than than some of like the characters in the past seasons. Like specifically Chris and Reese, they both irritated the shit out of me this season. They were both very, very, very annoying in their own distinct ways, and I hated how they covered for each other. Let's start out with Chris, because I have the biggest gripe with Chris. I already did not like him last season because of like his attitude and him being like really snaky. This season, they really gave him the character development that he did not need. Like, I feel like he could have fallen further back in the crowd, because why are we getting a highlight of a very terrible person? Why is he so aggressive towards everyone? Like, I get it, okay. Just because you have some family issues, Chris, and your parents are absent and you're super rich and basically have no repercussions for your actions, does not mean you can treat people like dirt. And that's exactly what he did. The way he talked about and dragged Pulang, the way that he would talk about KB for supporting Pulang when Pulang was actually in the right, and the way that he'd really just disrespect anybody that came for his friend Fakile, even with like the best intentions. Like Fakile's love interest this season, he did not deserve the treatment that Chris gave him, and that was honestly so rude, and I didn't like that. Like, I really like Sam. Sam was great. Chris, how are you going to be so overprotective of Fakile when you are a reason driver for why things happened the way they did? You are the person that ended up hurting Fakile, so why are you so overprotective of her? That is on you. Like, you should self-assess. And also the way that he treated Wendy for most of this just really was not giving, because they really tried to have the whole like bullies to lovers thing with him and Wendy. I do not think that that should have happened. I think that Wendy deserves better. Wendy does not deserve to be degraded by this man. And then he realized he went too far, and all of a sudden she's like, maybe he's not so bad. Like, Wendy, like how's that one audio go?
Whitney.
Wendy. I feel like Wendy deserved a lot better than Chris. I feel like that relationship was just really forced, like heavily. But circling back, I'm talking about Reese. Reese is like the equivalent of like, you know when you have like a problem, let's say this, you know, like when your like engine light comes on in your car, like your check engine light, and you want to like ignore it, you know, like, oh, okay, it's not gonna be that bad. And then like progressively as you drive your car more and more, it gets worse and worse, and it actually ends up becoming like a really bad and traumatic thing. That is Reese, because Reese starts off the season like not really being that bad. Like, she is trying to make ends meet, she's trying to make some money, which okay. So she starts selling, como se dice? How could I say this without getting demonetized? She starts selling candy. And by candy, I mean, she ends up selling more and more and makes this a big company for her, makes it really a lucrative business, but then ends up getting played by a teacher, which this is also very interesting because this school that they go to has really awful staff. Like, they have one faculty that tries to go with a student, they have one that like steals from a student and steals from the school. For one, how do you get tricked by your teacher? And two, how did the teacher not get caught? Because that was a lot of money that the teacher stole and got away with. And because of that, since she like lost her organization's entire funding, and also like the school's funding and her fund, like because she lost all that, Chris had to cover for her. And it was the way that they continuously lied to Wendy and everybody that really just made me mad. Like, why are you covering for each other so much? Like, take some accountability. Like, please, one of you, take some accountability for something. Out of all these people, like, I know this is supposed to be like a really rich school. If any characters were to, let's say, jump out of Elite into this show, it would be those two, because those two really do give what Elite is giving. Like, send them out to Spain, put them in Las Encinas, because why are they acting like this in this show? Blood and Water does not deserve characters like this, respectfully. Everyone else has their issues and everyone else is shady and messy and stuff, but like, it never has come down to like money the same way that it does with them. And that just didn't sit right with me. I was not enthused with either of them, to be honest. And since we're still on characters, we have yet to talk about this one character that y'all should know is very special in my heart, KB. And this season made me very sad because I didn't think it was possible. It somehow made me hate KB. And y'all know, if y'all saw my first video, y'all know how much I love KB, because like, just look at him. Look at KB. How could you hate KB? He was such a good boyfriend, except for that one time, which we're gonna talk about. For the most part, he was such a good boyfriend, super supportive, and just a generally good person. But this season just really shows what happens when you leave too much to the imagination. The stuff that went down with KB, where he ended up making this very awful sounding and awful lyricism. Like, I would just say, like, KB, for an artist, that was, you're in your flop era. Like, that was not your best work. And he called it Gaslight, which I find very funny. He made this song about Pulang, just like exposing all this shit that he thinks he knows about Pulang, and how he thinks that Pulang cheated on him with Wade, and how Pulang's like super obsessed. She's just like a generally bad bad person and then admits to cheating on Pulang, which is very embarrassing. Like, that was very embarrassing of him. Like, how are you gonna have a flop song, have terrible choreography, and then also be wrong and then stitch on yourself? Like, that really killed it for KB for me. Except, being honest, no it didn't. But for the sake of the plot and for the sake of moral superiority, it did. My thing with KB is that for someone who actually did cheat on his girlfriend, he is awfully fearful about what Pulang is doing and who Pulang is with. Like, the double standard is definitely there. And the fact that the person who he cheated on Pulang with was her literal sister, also not the best move. Not the best move. But before all that, before he made the awful diss track and like ruined his chances and ruined pretty much everything with him and Pulang while Pulang was literally going through it, he was really good to her. He was really good, and he really did try and like get to know her. He was defending her literally at every cost. Everything he could defend her for, he was defending her for, and she definitely needed the defending at the time. But my thing is, the fault isn't entirely on him because Pulang also would not open up and was definitely using KB for a majority of the season, if not all of the season. So Pulang isn't safe and KB isn't safe. It was just a thing of like miscommunication and just ill intentions for the most part. They really just did not talk to each other about anything important. And that, for the most part, is Pulang's fault. And the way that scene that really made me mad was when they were trying to reconcile their differences and they're like, okay, no more lies, no more lies. And KB tries to get Pulang to tell the truth and she only tells like a half truth and then goes and lies to him again and then continues to use him. Even after he admits and shows that like he's going to be loyal to Pulang, like once he knows like a little bit of the truth, still she's lying to him. And that really is frustrating to me because, again, I'm a KB stan. I love KB. Like, I know he's directly involved with a lot of this stuff, but try trusting him a similar amount to what you trust Wade with. And that's another thing. For another season, they try and force the Pulang and Wade train down everyone's throat. I don't care if they kissed. I don't care if they had their little moment. I still don't support it. I hate to say it. I do not support that relationship. They have nothing in common besides the fact that they're both trying to solve a case. Like, there's no chemistry there. The only chemistry is that they're constantly with each other. Like, they are cute in proximity. Outside of that, they have nothing in common. I like Wade with the other girl that he was with, although he treated her like dirt. So actually, he doesn't really deserve that. But the show's gonna force what they're gonna force, and unfortunately right now it's looking like Wade and Pulang. Now let's get into some hot takes, some unpopular opinions, and just some general commentary on the show itself. This season really did put the blood in Blood and Water. Like, last season I thought like, okay, Blood and Water, so edgy, so cool. But no, like, this season really did put the blood. Like, the way that they were just snatching up people, knocking people off, people went missing, putting hits out on people, like, wow, this is deep. Like, this runs deep. Like, this is serious. The way that they're trying to protect the truth from everyone else, like, that is truly, truly something. Like, it really put me in a weird place. Like, I saw all of the stuff that KB's dad was doing and like pulling the strings behind, but like, I was really conflicted because the person caught in the middle of this was Sam's mom. And also, actually, I was going to say that I feel bad for Sam's mom because she's put in a weird position where she has to physically like obey KB's dad, otherwise she gets basically taken out. But there are a sense of morals and set of standards that a human being must have, and I just don't think that Sam's mom has that. Like, why would you, one, alter DNA tests, 2, alter drug tests, 3, plant drugs on a minor, 4, pretend to be a therapist to hear what Fikile is saying, what Fikile is feeling, and then relaying that information to the exact people that she does not want to speak to and that should not know this information. Like, why are you being a double, triple agent? I don't get it. And then when you get called out on it by your son, you're like, oh, you just wouldn't understand. Like, everything that I've worked for has been up for this. Like, leave. If it's that difficult, then leave. Like, you've left, moved before. Like, y'all just got here. Like, you can leave again. My thing is, everything that she was fearful of happening happened anyway because she was following orders. Like, she could have just gotten out while she was ahead or tried to get out while she was ahead, or if she really cared about her son that much, get him out while things are still like boiling up, so that the stuff that happened in the finale did not have to happen. You know, I just don't trust her. I don't like her. While she did not deserve everything that happened to her, it also is some karma. And since we're talking about parents, let's talk about Pulang's parents because they were irritating this season. We find out a lot of things about them this season, a lot of their history, a lot of things that went on that are kind of embarrassing and probably are better left unsaid, but were said anyway. Why were they so judgy? knowing everything that's going on. Like, my thing specifically is why, when things got rough for Pulang and she was staying out late, like, why was their first assumption that Pulang was doing drugs? Like, why did they go straight to drugs? Like, why did their mind jump straight to drugs? Like, this is before any of like the drug stuff, before she was caught with anything. Something was going on in her life, like she was being really distant, she was like out late. Like, why was your first assumption drugs? If you had no indication that Pulang was on drugs before, why would you just assume that and then go with it? Like, it could have been so many other things. Like, she could have been seeing a boy. She could have been sneaking out and partying. She could have been kidnapped. I'm just saying, like, there are a lot of other alternatives here that don't have to go straight to drugs, you know? Like, that is literally assuming the worst out of your daughter. And then at that, they never have a real conversation with her, they just judge her. They would judge her and put these words in her mouth, and then whenever she tried to defend herself, they'd shut her down and be like, no, you're on drugs. Like, okay, maybe not like that, but you get the point. And then when they get a little bit of confirmation from like the stuff that was planted on her and Pulang was trying to explain herself, they'd be like, no, you are a safety hazard to yourself and others. And then they call a rehab center. They're like, we already have people on their way to come and help you. Like, why send your daughter to rehab instead of actually speaking to her, have a conversation with her first, instead of jumping the gun and going straight to like, oh, you need to be in rehab. Like, we're sending you away, you're a lost cause. And this reminded me of something. This really reminded me of something. Pulang is never safe. Because on some level, everything that happened to Pulang is in part Pulang's fault. Like, why, when you're being accused of being a drug addict, why would you go and do some drug addict stuff? Like, why would you prove their point even more? Like, they say like, oh yeah, you are a danger to yourself, you're probably doing drugs. Why would you start acting frantic, packing a bag, start stealing money, acting all like twitchy and weird? Like, why are you giving them more of a reason to think like, oh yeah, maybe she is on drugs? Like, I get like words won't really work with your parents, but actions sure do. And your actions sure were lining up with what they were assuming. But then later on, once everything got cleared up and Pulang actually did come forward and say what she's been doing this whole time, I really don't think that Pulang really rubbed that in enough. She really had the perfect opportunity to rub that in and be like, you know how you're gonna send me to a ward? A rehab center? This is all I've been doing. It's the looks. It's the side comments she could have made, just rubbing it in like they really fucked up and they have no faith in their daughter. Her daughter was doing this really valiant thing, this really heroic thing of trying to like solve this case that no one else could, and her parents tried to send her to rehab. Like, she just really was too passive in the fact that she saved the day. Like, she could have gloated, rubbed that in, like been more shady to her parents, but she wasn't. And I guess the last thing I really want to talk about is the finale. The finale was really wild, y'all. The whole stuff of Pulang kind of like betraying her promise, which also I feel like she should have done, because if she didn't, then Akile's parents would have gotten away. But that whole scene with Akile's mom was so tense. Like, the way that Akile's mom was about to end it all because she got caught, like, that would have been so traumatic for Akile. That's her lifeline. That really is her lifeline. Like, of course she did some really shady stuff, but like, she raised her, you know? Like, that would still be super traumatic because Akile's already going through her own stuff. But on the other hand, we really get to see how obsessed and to what lengths that Akile's mom would go to make sure that Akile stays in her care, even to the point of lying to her own husband. I feel so bad for her husband, Akile's dad, because he was kept in the dark this whole time. I didn't think it would be like that. I thought they were both in on it. But the fact that he has been living a lie for 18 years, basically, is so sad. Like, that's so traumatic. That your wife has been lying to you this whole time and was actually doing some really shady stuff, and that Akile is indeed not your daughter, and that this was a whole setup, and that the guy that orchestrated it all was like your so-called best friend. Honestly, I hope that he recovers. But yeah, for the rest of the finale, like during like their giant like dance scene that they have at the end, I'm glad that a lot of characters really like rounded themselves out for this season. Like, Reese came clean and like admitted to what she did, kind of. KB actually apologized and admitted his wrongs, and like KB looks so good in that makeup. I'm just saying, like, KB looked really good here. But Pulang was really playing both fields. Like, the way that she was just going back and forth with both of these guys, like, still this love triangle is going strong, because she's obviously more physically attracted to KB but emotionally attracted to Wade, if even that. And the way that Akile was just a great wing woman, like the way she was just standing there blocking the door while they were making out, like, no one's coming in, no one's going out, I'm minding my own business. Like, that is some real sister stuff right there. That's some real sister stuff. But then at the end, like the twist at the end of Akile getting snatched up and taken somewhere, I really think my prediction for next season is that this is like their getaway. It's giving like Outer Banks season 2. You thought everyone was gone, you thought everything was taken over, but really they all just like escaped together. But I really don't know. Like, I feel like they have a lot of great setup for season 3. I can't end this off without talking about that final scene. That final scene where KB's mom is revealed, and it's KB's mom and Akile's mom. Like, they broke Akile's mom out of jail. And I know this is like the dramatics of like South African acting. Why is like the final thing KB's mom being like, so tell me what you know about this girl Pulang. And the extra movements and facial expressions really did kill me at the end. Like, that was so dramatic for what? I really did love it, but it was really just funny. And a great way to leave off for this season, because now Pulang is in trouble. Like, Pulang has been under the radar for most of this. She's been skirting by, but now it's her time to pay. Not that I want that. That sounded like I really wanted that. It's not. It's just interesting because she has gotten away with a lot for doing a lot, and she never really had to deal with like a lot of the consequences, like from like the adults. And now she is. So I'm really excited to see how she's gonna navigate that, how Pulang and Fix are gonna end up coming back together, because it's like they're separated now. And really, I am just excited to see where things go now, because this was a solid season, I would say. I definitely enjoyed this season a lot. There was a lot that happened and a lot of mystery behind it. Of course, characters were annoying sometimes, but overall the story is progressing in a great direction, and I like what they're doing with it so far. I give the season a solid 8.5 or 9 out of 10. It was definitely solid. I enjoyed my time. It was a lot of fun. There were a lot of funny moments, like KB literally getting his shit rocked by Wade. Like, that was funny. Like, where did Wade learn how to do all that? But yeah, this is definitely a solid season. I'm looking forward to season 3, where we can get some more development and more plot and all of that. And yeah, that was Blood and Water season 2, y'all. As usual, this was a really action-packed season. A lot went down, and I was not able to really address all of it. Like, specifically the stuff that went down when Pulang and Fix went looking for like the birth receipt or like the DNA test. So if you want to discuss that more, or discuss anything that I didn't talk about in this video, then let's bring the conversation down into the comment section below, because I would love to talk about that with y'all. Other than that, thank you so much for watching. If you're new to the channel, hit that subscribe button and turn on post notifications so that you never miss when I post. And if you enjoyed this video, then leave a like. If you want to see more of my face, you can follow me on my social medias here at Imurgency. And if you want to interact more with me and be a part of the community that we got going on here, you can click the link in my description to join our community Discord. Other than that, y'all, thank you so much for watching. I've been Imurgency, and I'll see you in the next video. Peace.